But when you say the alt-right, define alt-right to me. You define it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying,
define it for me. Come on, let's go. Define
Senator
it.
McCain defined them as the same group.
Okay, what about the alt-left that came charging at it? Excuse me. What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? You have, you had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent.
The president said very strongly in his statement yesterday that he condemns all forms of violence, bigotry, and hatred. And of course that includes white supremacists, KKK. There's a typo here. Notice it, nephew Nazi, and all extremist groups.
You know, the Confederate battle flag, I believe in history. We can't erase history. They seek to delegitimize the fabulous accomplishments of our country.
Agreed.
By finding all the problems.
He has essentially said he cannot be impartial because he's Hispanic. Is that not a racist statement?
No, I couldn't disagree more with a statement like that.
Is it a racist statement?
I couldn't disagree more with what he had to say.
Okay, but do you think it's a racist statement to say?
I don't agree with what he had to say.
It's this constant, it's the white man, it's the white supremacist, that's the problem. No, it isn't.
Serfs. I'm Lance.
And I'm Dave.
And today's episode is brought to you by letter A for things are not all right, because they're alt-right. And that's what we're going to be discussing today.
Yes. Nazi good.
And things aren't all right for the serfs, because we've actually already recorded this episode. This is our second take. This is episode 20.2, I guess. Unfortunately, we had just come back from donating blood. I suppose we were a little lightheaded. And for one reason or another, only Dave's audio channel picked up. So it's basically, if you want to listen to Dave talk for an hour and hear my very manly James Bond-esque laugh in the background, that's basically what it is. So, Martin Shkreli, the douchical pharma bro who was infamous for increasing the price of AIDS medication by like 8,000%, was just recently charged and convicted. Sorry, yes, for 4.5 years, I think, in prison.
He hasn't been sentenced yet.
Oh, he
faces up to 20 years. Come on, justice system, Don't do us wrong. Full 20, baby.
But we were also thinking that because, he's into buying rare gangster-esque material, such as the Wu-Tang Soul copy of their latest album for $1 million. He might be interested in buying that lost episode of The Serfs that we recorded yesterday.
Damn right. Once we're big enough, man, that's going to be worth
so much.
Millions.
So, Shkreli, if you're listening from a small cold cell in prison where, God's light is shining upon your anus, buy our lost episode for, I guess, $1 million.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, anyone else is welcome to grab it for $1 million as well. We'll put it out there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Shkreli because he's,
he's a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit. He'll buy it, and he'll release little snippets of it on YouTube and stuff.
Just your laugh and my little rant.
Yeah, just hear your angry rants and his laugh. So because we recorded this yesterday, and this is the day after, we recorded on Wednesday. Now it's Thursday. I didn't really think there would be an incredible amount of new news.
Wrong.
Yes. Very wrong. Very wrong. A lot has happened in the last 24 hours, so we're going to have to touch on that. But we're still going to tackle our main topic of the week, which is the alt-right. It's especially pertinent now that Charlottesville has kind of become the centerpiece for the race war.
Yeah.
Pick a side. And we also have a Lugan Press.
Yes,
a Lugan Press of the week.
Right from the fucking commander-in-chief himself. I mean, when things are pretty low, we could always reach down to fucking that orange Cheeto motherfucker and always use something he spouts because almost everything he says is fake. Yep. But this one is actually significantly fake news with some serious connotations that go along with it. So
yes. So we'll touch on that later. Coming up later, the Lugan Press of the week. But first, the most important part of every show. Dave, what are you drinking this fine evening?
What I am drinking. Well, it seems I have 3 drinks in front of me. So I will start with, I'm drinking from Fuggles and Morlock. This is, I believe, the second time we've had this brewer.
Okay.
Who are fucking awesome. Yep. Mad respect to these guys.
Yep.
This time I'm drinking a little Mango Wit. The last Mango Wit. It's like a creamy. I don't know. It's like a cream. It's like a. I don't know how to say. Like almost like a wheat. That's not wheat ale. It's not as crisp as that. It's like a dark cream mango ale.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
And you find that it increases your wit.
I mean, my wit's just sky high anyways. I'm drinking a little rosé from Monster Vineyards that keeps my wit in check.
Oh, nice. Rosé all day. I guess we should let the fans be the judge of that, on whether or not it increases or decreases your wit.
I mean, they missed out on our awesome recording yesterday after
so many lost jokes.
Had some good drinks after giving blood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we should give a shout out. Blood.ca. If you guys have like 15 minutes out of your day, donate. They're at critical levels right now for the summer. Yeah. And also, you get inebriated a lot easier after you've donated blood. Yeah. So it's win-win for everybody.
And like I said, obviously that's because we're in Canada right now. We're giving a shout out to Canadian Blood Services, but to anybody who's listening to us out there in whatever country, donate blood. Donate a kidney. Donate anything if you have something.
No one's going to take your kidneys. Those black hockey pucks.
Oh, yeah, they're not.
Not what they once were.
So, Lance, what are you drinking over there?
I have by the Russell Brewing Company, which I guess is a bit more mainstream than of the smaller brewers we've been showing out to. But this is their Kettle Sour. It's a dry hop. It's really nice. I'm a fan of sour beers. You know, I mean, they have their place. There's some weird ones that sometimes taste like yogurt. I've had ones that taste, and I'm just like, what is going on here? But this one's delicious. And the Kettle Sour dry hopped. Well, on to the news.
On to the happy news.
Yeah. How are you doing in the race war these days?
I'm doing okay. Yeah. I mean, I just, when I go outside, I look both ways.
Yeah.
See if there's a ghost coming after me. And I go along my business.
So, obviously we're talking about Charlottesville. We got to talk about that. We talked a lot about Charlottesville in detail. I'm sure everyone at this point hopefully knows what happened. There was, a white nationalist / KKK / neo-Nazi, a Unite the Right, but it's really
right.
But it was actually Unite the Far Extreme Right.
Yes. Yeah. Obviously, Unite the Right would imply everything from
moderates,
right of center, rhinos, all the way to the extreme right.
Yeah.
But no, this was basically a gathering of your most deplorable, to steal that Hillary Clinton. From Nazis all the way to wannabe little white nationalists.
Yes. Yeah, there was a couple wannabes. I saw that clip on Twitter that's trending right now where it's just like a little kid who's like a
14-year-old.
He's like wearing some white power shirt, and then a bunch of people are about to fight him, and he rips off. He's like, no, I'm just here to have a good time.
I'll fuck you up, son. It's like, oh no.
It takes off his like white power stuff, and then all of a sudden, like someone afterwards asks him like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "Oh, it just seemed really fun. You get to say white power. I don't get to say that a lot."
Fuck, man. Once you said that, somebody should just like walked up and just punched him.
Punched him and filmed it.
and filmed it. Here are the Serfs. We condone punching Nazis.
No, we don't. This is a comedy podcast. Dave is joking, and nothing we say is taken at face value. We do not condone violence. Should it happen, we might wink and be happy. But
I'm condoning.
He doesn't represent us.
Okay, so it's obviously it should be well known now. Everybody knows that Nazis and all those far right. This big thing happened.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't follow the news, you might wonder, why did the Nazis and those guys decide to have a giant clusterfuck gathering of sad, pathetic losers?
Yeah.
The reason that they're doing it basically centers around the removal of Confederate statues.
Yes.
That one in particular was General Lee.
Yep.
But there's a movement that's sort of been speeding up, shall we say, in the South for the last little bit.
Yeah. Taking down Confederate flags on government buildings, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. We saw that at the tail end of Obama's term.
Yes.
But the statues obviously are more prevalent. They're obviously been etched there for a long time.
Yeah.
People identify with them, and those fucking hillbilly pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Who basically say, you can't take that down. It's a part of my heritage.
Yeah. My racist heritage.
I mean, what is your heritage at that point? Your heritage is one of two things. Either I support treason against the United States of America.
Yes.
Or I support slavery.
I endorse it as well.
Yes. I will fight to the death. My right to keep other people in
chains.
Bondage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
And then you've got the President of the United States who took a couple days to make an official response to it, at which point his official response was very, very forced. He was clearly just there reading off a cue card.
Yeah.
He had to name them by name, which he was refusing to do it.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, what happened at first was obviously on
He said there was bad people on both sides.
Yeah. So Sunday he'd had the worst condemnation
Yes.
that's to be expected.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
the violence everybody saw that spilled out. The whole shit started on Friday when those little tiki torch motherfuckers went off and were like, we will. What was it? We will not be replaced. No,
Jews will not replace us, and blood on my soil, or blood and soil.
Blood and soil.
Yeah.
And that's what they chanted. And shit was peaceful that night. It was just a bunch of
there was a small fight outside of the statue between the people protesting them and the right wing extremists.
Yeah. And then Saturday is when shit fucking hit the fan.
Yes, that's when there was the I will call it a white terrorist attack, in which a guy plowed through a bunch of people and then unfortunately murdered Heather Hayers.
Yeah,
and has thankfully subsequently been arrested and will be charged.
Yeah.
Terrible, deplorable Nazi piece of shit.
Yeah, he looks like
exactly what you would expect.
Yes, he looks exactly what you
Webster's
expect.
Dictionary defines white Nazi as this guy, and then his picture pops up.
And I mean, this is one of those things where it's like, you know, it's so easy to condemn this for any public figure, even the most deplorable public figure that we've like constantly, even like Jeff Beauregard, had like the common sense to come out and say, fuck the Nazis. Not in that terms, because we all know he's a fucking Klansman
himself,
But he has the common sense to basically condemn that in the harshest terms possible in public.
Yes. It's just very easy.
It's very easy.
It's very easy.
America has spent the last 60 years glorifying their defeat of the Nazis.
Yes.
You know, it's very easy to say, fuck the Nazis.
Yes.
But, you know,
except for the president, apparently.
Yeah.
So then, so at first you said there was people bad on both sides. Then afterwards, he gave that very forced press conference where he had to list some names. The White House released a press release in which they mispronounced neo-Nazis as nephew Nazis.
You cute little scamps swimming around there genociding people. Your little Hail Hitlers and your nice cute little haircuts.
They're adorable. And then afterwards gave what might be considered the worst press conference of his entire career.
Which is saying
so much. And it was a press conference in which he wasn't even supposed to be talking about this issue, but he was being pressed on it by the people there.
What was he talking? Was
the original thing that he was talking about, I think, was business and the CEO debacle that had been happening towards him.
No, that was just another part that he was just going to touch on, but it wasn't the main part of that.
Okay.
Because the whole thing happened at the Trump Towers. Lest us forget that Trump is actually on vacation right now. And these 17 days constitute his vacation.
Forgot about that.
When shit has literally hit maybe the lowest of the low during his presidency.
Yes.
He's on vacation.
He's on vacation. Fantastic. So yes, in that press conference, if you haven't seen it, watching it in like its entirety.
Yes.
Those 13 minutes alone are just unbelievable.
It's mind-numbingly jaw-dropping.
Yes.
Like I was just like, are you fucking kidding?
This is so easy.
Yeah.
And you've got General, I don't know if you've seen the photo.
General Kelly.
General Kelly, who's like, he's a 4-star general. He has been through the poop. All right. He has been in the poop. And he's been through Iraq, Afghanistan. He has seen shit.
Yeah. And he took this job because he thought he could, like, he knew it was gonna be tough.
Right. But he wanted to fix it.
Yes.
Right. That was his goal. And, you know, I don't personally agree with the imperial military industrial complex, but he still was trying to do what he thought was best for this position.
Yes.
And that picture of him just looking completely destroyed and defeated, like as if he had just been through war.
Yeah. Have you seen the video?
Yeah. It's even better.
Because you see him and it's like he's got his arms crossed, he's standing there, and like you can see him wince when Trump mentions like the Nazi, the alt left came at the Nazi.
Yeah, we got to mention that, the alt left.
He's like,
So Trump basically is saying that there's villains on both sides and heroes on both sides.
Yeah.
Of which he names by name. He says, well, you're calling out the alt-right. What about the alt-left? Why is no one mentioning the alt-left? Why aren't we talking about that? I saw them coming out there with clubs and violence and stuff like that, ready to do like harm.
Yeah. And it's like, there is no alt-left.
No.
The alt-left is a term constructed by essentially centrist Democrats or liberals
Yes.
who took umbrage towards the further left of their party.
Yes, the socialization, the Bernie Sanders movement, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
That's the alt left. The people who basically have a policy difference from the centrist difference. I mean, I wouldn't want to decry it the same way as the Tea Party, but it's similar in vein of like at least a policy shift between two camps.
Yeah.
There is no actual alt left.
No.
There is, I mean, which we'll touch on later on. There is an alt right.
Yes, an organized alt right, of which has gained an increasing amount of power since the president.
The people who were there, who were protesting against the Nazi fucktards
against the Nazis,
were basically normal people out to condemn the Nazis.
Yes,
people say
a lot of Charlottesville residents who did not want this happening in their hometown. Yes, absolutely.
You had your standard anti-fascists,
yes,
who I guess up until recently they've only been like basically rebranded as the anti-fascists recently. Before they were basically the Black Bloc.
Yeah,
those same anarchists who go and just fucking cause chaos and protest.
Yeah,
and then I guess like segments of the Black rights. Or Black
there
Lives
was,
Matter.
and there was also we got to call it out. There was an overwhelming amount of white people who were there just to fight fascism because
fuck fascists,
fuck fascists.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's one fucking thing we can all come together is fuck the Nazis.
Yeah, fuck the Nazis.
Right?
It's very easy.
Yeah, you like.
So yeah, all that being said, the president decided to lump in the two groups and try to spread equal blame between Nazis and people protesting Nazis.
Yes. This is like false equivalence that
an incredible false equivalence.
Both parties have
equal blame.
Yeah. And I mean, people have mentioned and we'll obviously mention here is that there are bad people, bad apples in the counter-Nazi movement.
Of course, absolutely. Violent people who come there looking for fights.
Yeah. In essentially in any single ideological movement or political movement, any kind of movement, you will have bad actors.
Yes.
Who will who will come at their own volition, who will have their own agenda in mind, who will basically spoil I don't want to say spoil the message, but basically
they do dampen and tarnish it.
Yes. Yeah. Every movement has that. Yeah. Every movement. Yes. Left, right, center, well, no.
You almost said Nazi.
I almost said it. The one movement who doesn't have that are the Nazis, who are comprised entirely of bad apples.
Yeah, it's just one giant bad apple. It's the worst apple you've ever had.
It's just the most rotten piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's like
if James and the Giant Peach went in it, he would die. He would not float in the ocean.
It's like on one side you have like a basket of apples and one really rotten apple.
Yeah.
On the other side, you just have this pile of shit.
Yeah.
Of like just
rotting
human
feces. Yeah.
And it's like you're trying to compare both of them, and it's like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, man. There's a complete difference between this. I'll even eat an apple that has touched that rotten apple on the side. I'm not putting my hand into that fucking rotten piece of shit. No, thank you.
And the great thing was that the fallout from this was swift and just.
Oh, fucking hard.
Immediately, Donald Trump started losing a whole bunch of the CEOs that were part of the administrations.
He had two. He had a manufacturing council and I can't remember off the top of my head the other council, whatever, some business council.
Yeah.
But he started losing guys left, right, and center.
Yes, and absolutely, it makes perfect sense. If you're the CEO of a major corporation and you have millions and millions of customers, they were immediately getting letters, phone calls, everything saying we do not want you to be a part of this anymore.
Of course.
And they followed suit very quickly.
I mean, if you run one of those corporations, you are responsible both to employ a very diverse workforce. All those CEOs probably employ thousands, maybe 100,000. Maybe not that, but like tens of thousands of employees.
Yes,
of all different kinds of stripes,
of which
colors.
many of them might be non-white.
Yeah, probably most.
Depending on the industry.
Even if they're not white, I would say 99% of them are probably anti-Nazi.
Yes, very easily.
Yes, right? And then that's just your employees.
Yeah.
On your actual customer side, I would also imagine 98%.
98 is, I think, a very safe made-up statistic.
Are against Nazis. So for those,
I'd say a large majority of Americans are against Nazis.
Yes, I would say 98% are against Nazis. Oh wait, yeah. I mean, what's Trump's core base? Yeah, his base is 24% right now.
Right.
Of that, I'd say 10% are Nazis. Of the entire American people, that's probably about 2%.
Yeah, that's about 2%.
Yeah. So yeah. And I mean, these business people are smart people. there comes a line when shit hurts your business and tarnishes your affiliation.
Yeah.
The Nazis. Nazis have one place, and those are basically the bad guys in video games and movies.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's
yeah,
it.
And that's it. That's it.
You
yeah.
know?
And their flags and historical memorabilia should be in museums.
Yeah.
As should statues of
Confederate- yeah.
Confederates, heroes, if you want to call them that. But Robert
I call
E. Lee,
them slaveholders.
Yeah, that's what they are. But Robert E. Lee should be in a museum.
Yes.
And since then, the president has been like tripling down on this message that if we're taking down his statues, what next? Washington?
Yeah, Jefferson?
Okay, so here's a very easy thing. Maybe you should keep up the statues of the people and take down the ones who were treasonous against those founders, against those founding fathers.
Yes.
Very easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's very easy to say, and I'm sure colored people in the United States do have some sort of umbrage towards even Jefferson and Washington.
And I think that's totally justified.
Yeah, that they did hold states.
They were slave owners.
Yes.
Yeah. Jefferson had sex with a lot of his slaves too.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many black slave descendants.
Yeah. But the difference is, they were products of their time. They obviously, I'm not going to say slavery is good and everything, but
that would be a very strange endorsement.
Yes. But Washington is essentially the father of the country.
Yes.
Who fought to make the country.
Yes.
And uphold its rights and laws and whatever.
Absolutely.
Is a far cry from a man who fought against the country.
Yeah, it's a very easy line to draw in the
sand. And
sand.
it's one thing to own slaves in a time where it was permissible to own slaves.
I still disagree with it, even if it is a product of its time.
But if it was a product, it's still one thing to. If it's a product of its time, it's one thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to when society itself is saying, "Hey, we should abolish this."
Yeah.
And you have guys who are fighting to the death to withhold it.
Yeah.
I mean, if Washington was saying fuck you guys, I need my slaves, then things would be a little different.
Yeah, it is. That is a very complicated issue, because they were bad men in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Should we judge them all by the same brush? That was the argument that Trump was trying to make, and I think you can make a pretty clear distinction between
you fought against the country.
Yeah,
you're treasonous. I mean, it's fucking treason.
Yeah, it is treason.
It just
like we said, the flag of the rising sun is not anywhere in Japan except for museums, right? They don't do that anymore. The Nazi flag is not in Germany.
It's not in Germany.
No.
The Germans did a damn good job at the end of World War II to teach your populace and shame their populace and guilt their populace. Like, hey, we were horrible fucking monsters.
Yes.
We might have been history's greatest monsters. Maybe
we're history's greatest monsters. Imagine telling that to students.
I hope they did in kindergarten too. It's like, what is this? Sing higher. No, Johnny, no. No, Adolf, no.
Guten Morgen, children. You're history's greatest monsters.
Where's little Adolf? You, sir, cannot have that name.
But
the Germans did a very aggressive and progressive education blitz after World War II.
Ooh, good use of the term blitz. Would you say it was a blitzkrieg?
Education blitzkrieg. To basically shame and educate. No, I won't say shame, but just educate. The atrocities committed by the Nazi regime and why they were wrong and why they should never fall into that trap again.
Yes. And subsequently, it has worked. Generationally, they are completely anti-Nazi. If you ever speak to Germans,
probably the most anti-Nazi country in the world.
Yeah. I would say that's a safe argument.
I mean, they suffered a lot, both internationally, long term. I mean, the fight because of the Nazis, they had to live the majority of the country had to live under the Russians.
Yeah,
the Soviets. So if that's not a reason to hate the Nazis, I don't know what it is. But that didn't happen in the States after the end of the Civil War, the Reconstruction was pretty ugly.
Then we got into segregation. Then we got into a huge amount of problems.
Well, Lincoln never really wanted to push the envelope. I think he was taxed enough from the end of the war.
Yeah.
And it was such a brutal war that they just wanted to get the South back in.
Yeah.
And they were okay with massive Jim Crow laws.
Yeah.
They were okay with essentially a different kind of apartheid.
Yeah.
If the North had at that point said, all right, here's your terms of surrender.
Yeah.
You have to open up the country. Mm-hmm. You can't treat them differently. They're still Americans.
Yeah.
Treat them the same way they did up north.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah.
Because as much as we're talking about these horrible Confederate statues that are at the crux of everything.
Yeah.
Those statues came up after the fact.
Yeah,
like
they
from
did.
the 1930s all the way to 1960s.
Yes.
That's when these statues started
absolutely.
being, because the blacks were starting to get power. They're coming up with this jazz. They're sleeping with their white women. Can't have that.
Smoking the reefer too.
Smoking the reefers.
So much reefer.
So you got to put up your little remember Stonewall Jackson. What the fuck? Like what's the equivalent now? It's like if somebody in Germany is like, well, remember Hitler?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, they say 2 lines just make shorter drinking lines for everybody.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. No, segregation was horrible. The post-war. I mean, we're still feeling we're still feeling the effects of that today, right?
Yeah.
Basically down the road. And you want to talk about neo-Nazis, white supremacists, KKK. Yes, they're all essentially trying to oppress other races, but no one is systematically oppressing, I'd say, African Americans the way the institution is, right? It's not the neo-Nazis,
no,
right? It's still ingrained within American society.
As much as everybody likes to, it's easy to hate on the Nazis and the white nationalists and the white supremacists.
And it is easy, Mr. Trump.
Yes, it's very easy. Because they're an ugly, stupid, uneducated, hateful face on it.
Yes.
But the real problem of racism, especially in the United States, isn't you're goose-stepping Heil Hitler, little pudgy fucktard.
No, it's systematic.
No, it's systemic.
Yeah.
It's from the justice system all the way to the
the
private
poverty,
sector.
the ghettos, yeah,
everything. It permeates
it's
everything.
deeply ingrained. Yeah,
that's why you have the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah,
all they're really searching for is a semblance of equality.
Yes,
treat us the same way as you treat us.
Yeah.
If you're gonna
same way you treat white people.
Yeah, if you're gonna kill, if the police are gonna brutally murder black people, then they should easily brutally murder white people the same level.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that cops have to stop killing black people. I'm just saying make it even and kill equal amount of white people.
Kill white kids too.
Yeah. Right? Compromise.
Yes, comedy podcast.
I don't think any cops are listening to us.
We should also touch on this since we've talked about Charlottesville for a long time. Something terrible that happened just today was that attack in Barcelona that occurred, this morning, in which a van plowed into 13 people at Las Ramblas in Barcelona. A lot of my family lives there. Fortunately, none of them were affected by this, but it's really unfortunate they targeted Las Ramblas because that is incredibly high tourist population.
Yes, it is. It's the heart of Barcelona.
It's the heart of Barcelona. Yeah, it's exactly where you buy the hashish.
And where you get pickpocketed.
And where you get. I have been robbed there.
Everybody gets robbed.
I had a camera robbed out of my pocket. It was so smooth. It was elegant. It was like silk. They're silky fingers.
It's so smooth.
Oh,
it's an art form down there.
Yes, it is.
But it is it's a Times Square of New York. It's it is the heart of Barcelona.
Yes. Barcelona.
It's obviously it fucking sucks.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's the same way we condemn a white terrorist attack like we just did. We condemn this terrorist attack.
Yeah. This one was committed by Muslim terrorists. I think ISIS taking
credit for it. Yeah.
It fucking sucks.
It does. The police arrested one guy, shot the other, and the Barcelonian police just announced they stopped a second terrorist attack that was going to be correlated as of like 6 minutes ago before we're recording this. Yeah, by a shootout.
So nobody else died. No innocents died.
No, none on the second one. Yeah, which is great.
I mean, obviously cars are, obviously I feel like we've seen a bunch of these in uptick.
Yeah, that one in Paris was really bad. Yeah, vehicle manslaughter thing.
It's real tough to stop those.
It is. Well, we just saw it in Charlottesville. It's everyone has a car, and they are large metallic killing machines if you want to turn it into one.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a public space.
Maybe that'll be like one of those things that really kick up the automation of vehicles because you can't be like, hey, run that person over.
I can't let you do that, Charles.
But he's wearing a Nazi armband. He's like, say no more. But I mean, it comes back to I want to say Shahid Khan, the mayor of London, who after that London terrorist attack was a couple months ago, essentially said that this is the sad reality of living in a major city these days.
Yes, it is.
And he got a lot of flack for it. But it is.
It kind of is.
I mean, it's not something that, obviously we want to condone or expect.
Yes.
Obviously, we want to stop it, and you hope that the police can stop it. But it's sort of this terrible thing that we have to sort of live with.
Yeah. Or at least it's becoming an increasingly more reality.
Yeah, I mean,
increasingly
thank
becoming
God
reality.
that at least in Europe and say Canada and every country other than the States,
Yeah.
there is still a semblance of gun control.
Yep.
Because in the States, it'd still be easier to just walk into Walmart, pick up a fucking gun, and then shoot everybody, than to drive a car into a group of people.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It sucks.
It does suck. But the president wasted no time basically creating our Lugenpress of the week.
Well, the president right away condemned it.
I would say almost presidentially. He said exactly what you're supposed to say.
Yes.
We condemn this horrific attack of violence.
The irony there was he didn't condemn obviously we mentioned that he never condemned the Charlottesville thing. And
For
his
days.
And his excuse after day 2 or 3
Because he wanted to learn all the facts.
I wait until all the facts come in. And it was like, everybody's like, what?
Yeah, okay.
You never wait until all the facts come in.
Weren't you the one who said Obama wasn't born in the U.S.? Yeah. Weren't you the one who said that Muslims were cheering on 9/11? Weren't you the one that said that twice as many people at your inauguration were actually there? Weren't you the one that said that Trump steaks are delicious? Weren't you the one that said that Trump College is a good education? Trump University?
So
well, I've got his tweets up here, so
So you can mention the exact the Lugenpress this week basically comes on his behest after he condemned it. Also on Twitter, obviously, he went to Twitter to unleash another note.
Well, he started the day talking again about the same facts we were talking about earlier. Sad to see the history and culture of our great country being ripped apart with the removal of our beautiful statues and monuments. Beautiful statues of traitors.
Oh, on that note, I also saw something else. Because you know how we always see tweets that are basically hypocritical of his saying something that he now hates on, but then before he did it before.
Yeah. So
somebody dug out an article predating the Twitter age. In fact, predating the internet. In 1980, Trump was building his Trump Tower building in New York. And to do that, he had demolished a building that already existed.
Yeah.
In there lay 3 or 4 priceless historical artifacts. Like statues. I don't think they're statues, but historical artifacts.
Okay.
He was told about this.
Oh, okay.
It would have taken a week and a half to remove those artifacts, and then they could have proceeded. Trump instead decided to fuck that, tore that building down, smashed those artifacts into pieces.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know exactly where the story is going. Yeah.
So for a man who talks all about upholding,
the beauty.
History.
The beauty of history.
Fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you. So right after the attack, this is his, what you would call a competent sentence. The United States condemns the terror attack in Barcelona, Spain, and will do whatever is necessary to help. Be tough and strong. We love you. Very simple.
Yeah, beautiful. Good.
That's exactly how a president should.
That's like what all the heads of states basically tweeted out or messaged out today.
1 hour later, study what General Pershing of the United States did to terrorists when caught. There was no more radical Islamic terror for 35 years.
Which, should I say, what's the word? What's the thing that fake news. Yeah, that's it.
That's our Lugenpress of the week, folks.
Yes. So, he's referencing Muslim terrorists in the Philippines by killing them by shooting them with pig's blood.
Yes.
Yeah, this is what 1960.
Because if you understand Islam, you're not allowed to eat pork. So the idea of dipping them in pig's blood means that they wouldn't be allowed to go to heaven.
So this basically is from it's an early movie.
That's from a film? It's not even from a quasi-real event. It's just from a movie.
I can't. I'm trying to quickly read it up right now. Yeah, it's from 1911 is, I guess, what it's from.
Well,
I can
tell you this firsthand from being in the Philippines. The Muslim terrorists of the Philippines are very active and well. There's a reason there's a Canadian and U.S. travel warning to never go to the south of the Philippines, because that's where the guerrilla warfare is taking place. And fun side note, the guerrilla warfare, any single time Pacquiao fights, is halted for the entire duration.
Even the guerrilla warfare?
Even the guerrilla warfare. Every single person in the Philippines stops fighting for that moment when Pacquiao fights.
We should get Pacquiao to keep fighting.
Never stop fighting Pacquiao 24/7 and fix the problem.
So as noted historians say, Pershing executed no Muslims. At most, anecdotal accounts attributed Pershing's success to his mere threatening to do so. So he threatened to kill them and, come down on them hard.
But did he do the dipping the bullets in pig's blood?
No. In fact, Pershing was more inclined towards peace talks with the Moros rather than violence. Yeah.
So here's the case of the president saying you should read up on this when he hasn't read it.
What's good about it is that people will read up on it, and all the first hits are essentially saying this is complete bullshit. Like, this is a complete lie.
But then that's fake news.
It is fake news. And
but I mean that his base will see that as fake news.
Oh, I'm sure. But there is no history of this. He mentioned this the first time during his campaign, during the, I think, New Hampshire primary.
Right.
And it was considered at that point one of the darkest, lowest points. This is a presidential candidate threatening horrific kind of violence towards people.
Yeah.
And now it's the president. Forget the fact that it's fake news. This is the president of the United States saying you should kill Muslims with pig's blood.
Yeah. That's dark.
Yeah. That's real dark.
Yeah, that's a religious war crime, basically.
And I mean,
not only do you have to kill you, I want to ensure you never get into whatever kind of heaven you believe in.
I don't think heaven works that way. I don't think
Allah is going to be there.
Oh, sorry, you were killed by pig's blood.
No,
you're out.
You've had pig's blood in your system, but I didn't eat it.
Yeah. I don't think that's how it goes. I think it's all bullshit anyways. But, it's not like they're not vampires.
Isn't that werewolves?
Werewolves, sorry.
Yeah,
werewolves with silver bullets.
Yeah, the silver bullets.
Yeah.
Muslims are werewolves, folks. You heard it here first.
You need to dip everything in otherwise it doesn't work. They just get reincarnated, come back stronger than ever.
Turn into raging beasts. Yeah.
What's the equivalent there? It's like, if you want to kill, if vegetarians got all uppity, would you have to kill them with any
meat.
kind of meat?
Yeah, you just murder them with meat.
So what else is there?
Stab them with steaks.
Just go out and murder. If there was a war between a vegetarian country, it's like your melee weapon is just like a giant hunk of meat, and you're just bashing them with a hunk of meat.
It would take so long. It takes so long. Oh, what a horrible war. And smelly too.
Smelly as hell.
You would have so much.
But you'd be able to barbecue and cook a lot of food all the time.
Yes, you would. And then eat the vegetarians. So obviously Trump's unhinged erratic behavior has finally started to get condemnation from other Republicans.
Yeah, senators. Senator Corker came out today.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham made a pretty
forcible,
statement. I think Mitch McConnell, Turtle, has said a few words.
I heard. I read stuff that's like Mitch McConnell was apoplectic and just fucking livid about it, and I was like, whatever. That's whatever.
He has been permissing so much.
Yes.
To come out now, you're not a hero.
But I obviously I was like, yeah, whatever. Fuck, he sucks ass.
Yeah.
But then I was reading up about him, and Mitch McConnell did come up as his political upbringing, basically, and he was an aide and working his way up through politics. He was assigned next to, I don't know the guy's name, but one of the key Republican anti-racists of the 70s and 60s. So for all McConnell is, he's always been an anti-racist at a time where it was pretty much very taboo to be anti-racist in the Republican Party. McConnell was still a part of that. So say whatever you will about him, and we have said a lot.
Yeah, I think he was a cretin 5 episodes
ago. He sucks ass.
Yes, he does. But he does when it comes to, I guess, more healthcare issues.
Healthcare and private rights and stuff.
Yes, but when it comes to racism, he has stood his ground.
Yeah, especially for a guy, I can see it from the guys of the South. If you are principled, coming from hotbeds, or especially hotbeds of racism, majority Republicans are not down with this.
Yes.
Even the ones who are probably racist were smart enough to be like, fuck, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole.
Well, I've got the quote from Senator Bob Corker, the Tennessee Republican.
Yeah.
The president has not yet been able to demonstrate the stability nor the competence that is needed to demonstrate in order to be successful.
Which is
that's a strong statement.
That's a supporter, a senator who's a supporter.
Yes.
That's a heavy statement.
That is a heavy statement. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's it's terrible.
This last week I mean, on Monday, I was like, wow, that's low bar.
Yeah.
This is like one of the lowest bars of maybe American presidency.
Yeah.
And then he followed it up by today's antics. And like this last week, this whole week that's passed now has put his administration at such a low
level.
It's you are underwater.
His support numbers were already abysmal.
Yes.
We've already talked about how he's now a lame duck president who's never going to be able to pass a single thing for the rest of his term. And then this all happened.
Yeah.
And he handled Charlottesville in the worst way possible. Worst way possible. And like we've said so many times already, as we're just getting inundated with this, it was so easy.
It was. Yeah.
It was. And like, maybe it's just because he's got no base left. He's got no support left. He just feels the only people I can apply to now is, David Duke and the rest of the fucking soulless Nazi cretins.
He's just unhinged now.
He is. Yeah. So it's like, this is, and at this point we can firmly say the president of the United States is a racist.
Yeah.
Like it's,
I mean,
we knew he was, maybe a mild bigot or racist light when he was talking about Mexicans being rapists and talking about his immigration policies, his campaign trail.
Diet racist.
Diet racist. Yes. But it's no longer diet. He's going full calorie now. We're getting, all those carbs.
Yeah. You're on Diabetes Central.
Yeah, you're the diabetic racist, Donald Trump. And he probably is diabetic with all he's eating.
I mean, yeah. I know we probably don't have time enough this week to get into the whole Steve Bannon stuff.
No, we can talk about that next week. I mean, we should bring on our topic of the week. Wow. Speaking of diabetic cretins, let's talk about the alt-right.
Oh, fuck.
The new right.
Yikes.
Yeah. So I'm going to quickly just ramble off this little description. A lot of our descriptions come from Rational Wiki. It happens to be my favorite webpage on the internet. It's one of the few websites on the internet that gives me hope about humanity because I find it's just a collective of people trying to be as funny as possible about rational issues. But this is their description of the alt-right. The alt-right new right is a far-right movement that opposes multiculturalism, socialist justice movements, what they call SJWs. The movement is made up largely of young internet dwellers. It is itself the merger of traditional white nationalists, neo-Nazis, and right-wing internet groups. The alt-right consensus generally rests at the juncture of those three groups. The alt-right is also united by support for U.S. Republican President Donald Trump. The term originated with Richard Spencer, everyone's favorite white nationalist, magazine blog called Alternative Right, nicknamed Alt-Right. The alt-right wholeheartedly embraces the overt racism, misogyny, neo-Nazi affections, bullying, and trolling of Chan culture as a lifestyle. You'll find them on a bunch of polls, Reddits, Right Stuff, blah, blah, blah. The alt-right. This is kind of the new rebranding of
the Nazis.
The Nazis. Well, you can lump a lot of different people in here. I'd say the most, I don't use the term respectable because none of them are, but I guess the most tame of these extreme groups are probably white nationalists, right?
No, the most tame is probably the Gamergator 4chan fuck.
Right, but that's not an identifiable group with a political agenda that is clearly...
The Pepes.
Yeah.
They hate women. They love video games. They want ethics in video games.
But they don't have spokesmen. They don't have people who are like... The white nationalists actually have representatives.
Yeah.
So in terms of organization, the white nationalists are probably the forefront of this. And, I guess being called a racist kind of became something that people didn't want to be, dignified as anymore, or at least it became just a hot button. So they started trying to rebrand themselves multiple times. That's where white nationalists came from, right?
White nationalists used to be, I can't remember what first, white supremacists or white nationalists?
Supremacists first.
Okay, so it's Nazis, white supremacists, white nationalists.
Yes, and nationalist almost has a nice ring to it. It's like I care about my nation.
My country, America.
Yes. But well, okay. The crux of any of these groups, I'd say they vary in their extremism. They vary in how much they really want to push their message. But I'd say a white nationalist is basically pushing for the ethnocentric control of America and Western culture via white people,
white men.
Yes, sorry, white men. We gotta include misogyny in here because it is rampant amongst the alt-right. Yeah, misogyny is a huge problem here. But there's this idea, and it's a false one, that the greatest accomplishments in the world have come at the hands of Western civilization. Yeah. So it's kind of ignoring the fact that Western civilization came at the hands of the largest genocide in human history. Whether you want to argue that it was intentional or unintentional, I would say it's intentional with disease taking over the majority of the problem. But, they came to America. They slaughtered hundreds of millions of Native Americans. They took over America. They created one of the first democracies, open voting democracies.
Democracy had existed before. But
yeah, it existed before, but it didn't exist with a constitution or charter.
Either way, they basically tried it, and they don't take credit just for Western civilization in America.
Yes.
They try to take credit for all Western civilization,
including
Roman
Europe.
era, the Roman era onwards. Like everything's Western history, and that's what's great.
Yeah.
Which is just a bastardization of history.
Absolutely.
History's a melting pot of like all the
different
world.
cultures. It's also ignoring things that had happened before. Like we said, like the Ottoman Empire. I mean, if you want to study history, talk a little bit about the Ottoman Empire. And if you like things like mathematics, you might want to credit other people, non-white people, for accomplishments throughout history.
Like shit like the paper, gunpowder.
Gunpowder, yes, absolutely. Astronomy.
Shit, history changes very rapidly, and this obviously isn't a history podcast.
No, but it should be a history podcast. And we love history.
The last like 200 years or 300 years especially really was an uptick in Western development.
Yes.
They basically industrialized quicker, and that industrialization basically spurned on growth.
Helped entirely by oil.
Yes.
Oil was a huge factor there, right?
Not even oil, coal.
Coal, yes. Coal, then oil, right?
Yeah.
But that helped the speed at which everything moved, yes. And
coal mechanization.
And then oil also opened up a huge amount of different chemical properties that we didn't know about before, such as plastics and stuff like that, right? So all this happened incredibly rapid. About 100 years of industrial, increasing. I've just got so many things I want to talk about now. There's so much on this topic. Okay, we're going to derail really easily, but let's I've got so many things flowing through my head right now. But okay, let's just talk about this. That yes, there's a huge amount of advancements. We're talking to you via the power of the internet, via the power of electricity that have come at the hands of Western civilization.
Yes.
There is no way you can say that there is a reason that a certain race is responsible for those exclusively, and that without that, we will lose that kind of civilization, right?
And once again, there is no whiteness. Like white people is not white power is not a thing.
Yeah.
There is no white power. You all basically subscribe yourselves to European influence.
Yes.
And up until 50 years ago, there was no white in Europe. I'm Portuguese, I'm French, I'm English, I'm German. Every country had their own specific power. People try to make this false equivalence, like, well, why can people say I'm black power, or why can I have brown power, this and that?
Yeah.
Well, for two reasons. One, they identify as that because that's all they have. African Americans can't trace their roots to anything in individual places because they were taken from there as fucking slaves. Two, you're an oppressed minority, so it's different when the oppressed small minority is trying to coalesce around their own identity.
Last I checked, white people are still running the show.
Yeah, in like every regard. If black people or if a bunch of white people want to say Irish power or English power or French power, more to you. Have fucking French festivals.
Absolutely.
That'd be awesome. I will participate, eat your awesome French food. There's no white food. What the fuck is white food, right? That makes no fucking sense.
And, white racism has existed for a long time against other whites.
Yes.
Lest we forget the founding of Americas. How was it being Irish in New York in the start?
Fucking Catholics.
How was being Catholic?
When JFK was running for president, it was like he can't be president because he's a fucking Catholic. He's a Mick Catholic.
He's a Mick.
It was not even 100 years ago. Being Irish and fucking Catholic was not a death sentence, but you were a second-class citizen. You were just above being black in this country.
Absolutely, yes. So white racism and white against white racism still kind of exists, because I was saying this the other day. Jews are pretty white.
Yep.
Jewish people look
they don't count. They don't count this whole white power thing. All around the world, there is like white power except for the Jews.
Except for the Jews. I mean, Kushner looks pretty damn white. He's a white boy. Come on.
You know who else is white? Or at least Jewish.
What?
Jesus.
Jesus was a Jew. I don't see any Ku Klux Klan, which is a Christian organization, apparently. Yeah, saying let's burn Jesus. Let's burn Jesus on the cross. That won't get you very far. Yeah. So there's systemic racism, whites amongst whites, and now it happens to be whites against Jews, and now it's whites against all other races.
But yeah, to bring it back here, this alt-right movement essentially started up.
It's a rebranding.
Yes. And has been on the fringes on the internet for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Breitbart was basically a major publication that pushed that agenda.
And they had a lot of celebrities that were kind of pushing this forefront. Like Milo Yiannopoulos was one of the big, he's on cameras, he's on interviews, he's doing all this stuff.
Ben Shapiro, right?
All these cretins, we should add them all to the cretin list.
Yeah.
But either way, these are celebrities who are on television, they're on big shows, and they're talking about this new movement called the alt-right. And they try to legitimize the whole thing by not saying anything close to, I'd say,
overtly racist. It was all dog whistles.
It's all dog whistles.
Everything Breitbart ever published, everything the alt-right ever says is dog whistle.
Yes.
If you are in any way familiar about how, coded racism or how dog whistles work, you should pick up on that so fucking quick.
Yes.
It's so easy to, when they say globalist, they mean Jews.
Yes.
There's so many fucking things. They highlight crimes committed by colored minorities. Yeah. It's such fucking scumbaggery. Yeah. It is Nazi shit. Yeah. It is Nazi stuff. It is exactly how the Nazis
operated. Yes, but it's being rebranded for 2017, and now it's, instead of calling myself a white nationalist, right? I'm an alt-righter, and I believe in, I want immigration policies in which, Mexican rapists aren't coming to my front door and raping my kids and stuff like that. Well, that's a very simple way of saying that you think Mexicans are more prone to crime than, Caucasians. Like you said, it's coded language for
foreigners. It's like always ranking foreigners.
Yes. And lest we forget also the misogyny. So for some reason, I think you might have a group, and if it's the alt-right and they were relegated to the internet and whatever it may be, and they don't have a lot of social skills and they're armchair warriors or they're doing what they're doing, they might not have the ability to make a lot of friends, meet women, get in relationships or whatever it may be. But they seem to have a lot of negative feelings towards women. Like there's a war on men. There's a war happening towards men. There's a war happening towar's white men. Yeah. Right?
Poor white men.
Poor white men.
I feel bad for you guys. Yeah. I don't know how you survive.
How you come this far.
You know what, and what you're saying there, almost one of the first forefront and mainstream things that pushed the alt-right into the public eye was the whole Gamergate movement.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah. Which basically spurned from some fucking bullshit reason, but it was basically a misogynistic.
It was an incredibly misogynistic movie. We've already touched on that in a previous episode. We went into Gamergate quite a bit.
So that's like one big branch of the alt-right movement.
Yes. And then, like you said, Steve Bannon's Breitbart legitimized them, and then they got into the White House.
Yeah, Steve Bannon got tapped, I think, I want to say July or August last year as a White House person. Yeah. Because up until that point, he was very much Donald Trump.
Yes, and then became an advisor to the president. Yeah. So then you've got the creator of Breitbart, one of the two creators of Breitbart magazine, working directly, feeding the president into his ear, right?
By all accounts, a pretty influential.
Very influential, or at least he was for a while. Yeah. He's since been relegated and downgraded a couple times. Yeah, and then he bounces back. But I'd say at this point, alt-right has become mainstream. It is mainstream.
It is,
the president of the United States is defending the alt-right in press conferences now, right? So you can't ignore them anymore. The alt-right is, it has to be known for what it is. It's basically a rebranding of white nationalism.
It's a rebranding of, white nationalism. American white nationalism.
American white nationalism.
I mean, it's easy to say Nazism. Nazism is an easy, quick strike.
Exactly. And so is racism. Just to call someone like, well, you're a racist, and then just to dismiss it, which is what a lot of lefts do, right? And this is maybe part of the problem, is that people were being called racists at such a drop of the hat that they kept trying to rebrand themselves.
But, a lot of Americans are racist. The country was, born out of racism.
Yeah, blood and soil.
Not black people's soil, though.
So I'm going to read out a very popular alt-right sticker that is making rounds right now that says, America was 90% white in 1950. It is now 60%. Make America great again. So that's an alt-right sticker that's circulating quite a while now.
Yeah, good luck with that fucking numbers.
Right.
90% white in the 50s?
Yeah, those statistics are obviously wrong. I think the black population of the U.S. has been steadily at 13% for some time now. Yeah. So right there, the stats are already wrong. And that's just blacks.
Yeah. And there was always Asians and Chinese here.
Yeah, there was Chinese railroad workers who were also, horrifically.
And obviously, the demographic swing is headed very harsh the other way. Whites are being outbirthed, let's say. Obviously,
I wouldn't just say outbirthed. I would say immigrated against, right? Because the immigration flux has been largely non-Caucasian to the United States for a while now. Overwhelmingly Latino.
But at the same time, the American birth rate is very low. So the combination of that really bleeds into that.
Absolutely.
And what would change that if those white little Nazis had it in them would be to find another little Aryan woman and have sex, make a little Aryan Aryan babies. But unfortunately, nobody likes them, and they'll never have kids, and they're fucked.
So there's a war on men, then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a war on racist white men. And I, for one, condone it. All you women out there who are waging that fight, I'm with you.
Good on you.
Good on you. And the rest of us who are like all having like mixed babies, I'm with you too.
Yeah, mixed babies are awesome. I'm a mixed baby.
Right? I mean, the majority, that's what America is basically based off of.
Yes.
It is a melting pot.
It is.
As much as you want to
that's the fundamental ideal, but it doesn't work that way, right? It's been more of a clash of ideals.
It has, but it slowly melts. Like now we no longer say that Italian or that our people meld in, right? Like whereas 100 years ago, if you were an Italian immigrant, you were second class.
Yes.
You're Irish.
Yes.
But now nobody gives a fuck.
Yes.
Now only people give a fuck if you're Muslim.
Yeah.
And eventually they'll be fine too.
Yeah. Well, one day.
Yeah, not anytime soon.
And so all this being said, I think we should also stop for a second because this is we're recording this podcast in Vancouver, Canada right now. Next week we're going to be in New York, and then actually next couple of weeks we're going to be doing Vancouver, New York, and then Dave's going to be traveling to New York as well.
Yeah.
But the whole reason I'm saying that is that in Canada, and especially in Vancouver, there's been a huge air, especially amongst the woke, the woke whiteys. You woke, bro? You woke? But I'm talking about socially conscious Caucasians who are aware of systemic racism and are trying in their own little ways to fix it, have been just, flabbergasted by what happened in Charlottesville, being like, I can't believe that racism still exists. Oh my God, America is so racist. But let me just say that the glass house you're building is just so large, you are just, swimming in your own juices inside, because Canada is still incredibly racist as well. So
fuck yeah.
Yeah, incredibly racist. If you want to look at our systemic racism against Aboriginal people, it is horrific. Their rates of incarceration, the rates of suicide, the rates of depression are horrific in Canada. So yeah, we are not above racist as much as,
As much as we want to talk about systemic racism in the States, we have serious systemic racism.
Absolutely. Incredibly systemic. Like residential schools, I think, were shut down in
94.
94! Like, oh my God.
Yep.
I think that's when the Nintendo 64 came out, or around there.
I think around 95 or 96.
95? Okay, so I had a Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's how I judge history. What console.
That is our nerd version of time right
barometer
now.
for what console is out. But yes, residential schools were still open up till 1994. So that is a horrific fact. That was a situation in which Aboriginal kids were taken forcibly from their parents, forced into schools in which they were
forced to assimilate,
abused, raped. Like the horror stories, the ramifications of that are going to be felt for generations, for hundreds of years, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's
like, hey, get over it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing people say in the States. Hey, get over it. I didn't own any slaves. Get over it.
Yeah.
Like, well, fuck off.
Yeah.
Most of your wealth came from your grandpappy's slave plantation.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right?
You're still living off cotton, son.
Yeah. Or moreover than that, it's like, hey, I don't own any slaves. You black people should get over it. It's like, okay, well, get rid of those slave statues. Okay, wait a minute here.
No, that's history.
Don't get crazy here.
That's history. Yeah. And it's also ignoring the fact of, this term is thrown around a lot, but privilege, white privilege. There's an added benefit to being Caucasian in society, right? Whether it's in your hiring rates, there's even like racism in Tinder and stuff like that, where people still think like, well, I want a white baby, so I want
It's true.
But you have to be aware of that. Like I've talked about being a mixed baby, but because my complexion is white, you have to be aware that you have had the advantages of being a white looking person in society.
People still don't realize like what that means, right? It's like, well, I was never privileged. And it's like, yeah, you were. You just didn't realize.
You didn't realize it. You don't know what it's like being the only black guy in a school full of all white kids, right? Like you could never identify with that until you've been thrown around in the opposite direction, obviously, right? Yeah.
But come back to the racism thing here.
Yeah.
You're mentioning a little bit of like, systemic racism, but even overt racism in Vancouver, there's a overt racism towards Asian people, Chinese people in particular. Because there's this like feeling that like you guys are taking all our real estate. Fuck you guys are taking our country away.
Right. So while there is definitely a fact that there's a huge amount of investment of Chinese investors into Vancouver real estate, the way it's being reported, even by major publications here, like the Vancouver Sun, I'll see an article and I'll be like, that is just racist language.
Yeah.
Right? The way you're using this.
You're just playing on people's fears and anger.
Yes, and xenophobia.
It's like, I can't do this. Well, it's the foreigner's problem. That's it.
Exactly.
It's anytime the quick answer is the foreigner's problem, it's like, it's not the foreigner's problem. That's essentially been mankind's like historical go-to boogeyman for fucking since we were little Homo sapiens, little Cro-Magnons came into our camps. Well, that's that fucking guy's problem.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a bigger forehead than us. Fuck that guy, right? Like, it's the same thing.
Death the forehead. It's the forehead wars.
And since we're talking about Charlottesville and racism and Canada, you know what's happening here on Saturday?
What's happening here on Saturday?
There's a neo-Nazi white nationalist rally at City Hall on Saturday.
Oh my God. Are you serious? Here in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
Saturday afternoon at so I'm sure it'll be full of like anti-protesters.
Although I think the anti-protesters were out. Nationalists.
If we didn't have
a wedding to go to,
we would have been there.
Oh, that would have been such good footage.
Signs
yes. Listen to the Serfs. Fuck Nazis. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so I'll leave you with a quote by Colbert on the alt-right because this one's actually pretty good. Here's how to understand the alt-right. Think about what's right. Then think about the alternative. And that's the alt-right for you folks. We're getting close to the top of the hour here now. We should just quickly mention hate groups have been in the rise in the United States by a lot. I think there's over 900 identified hate groups in the US right now, whose numbers are rising. Everyone wants or hates a different thing. You know, some people don't like the Jews, some people don't like Muslims, some people don't like the Jews or the Muslims.
I hate people who hate other people.
Dave hates everyone who hates everyone. Yeah, but since 2014, hate groups have increased by 17%. I think the grossest thing is that just maybe this, alt-right Steve Bannon / Trump, Stephen Miller whole swamp that is formed have given them kind of,
open credence.
Yes, courage to come out of the shadows, right? So I don't think they weren't racist before this. I just think now that they're a little more open to being visible.
And the worry is really there. It's like the people they attract generally are the same people that like Muslim terrorists attract.
Yes,
right.
Disenfranchised white people.
Well, I mean, Muslim would be not white men usually.
No, but you're saying the comparison. If you were disenfranchised Caucasian in the United States,
that same age group. It's like 16 to 24-year-old males who feel left behind, who feel have no purpose.
Yeah,
that's what those like radical ideologies take.
Yes,
it's like the no friends group. It's like people who are like in the no homers club. That's what they get. And because they're in the forefront now, they will slowly attract more attention because it's not so. It is more mainstream. So.
It is more mainstream, and huge rise in anti-Islamic.
So if I know nobody listens to us is even well within that time.
That would be a hard reach out. So for all you Nazis listening.
But, I'm sure a lot of people maybe who do listen to us know somebody, a family, friend, or a cousin or relative
who likes to say things at the dinner table that make you go,
Yeah. I mean, I think, as much as you're like, wow, that guy sort of sucks, a lot, especially if they're younger, maybe sit down with them, actually sit down and not judge them, but like have an actual conversation with them.
Yes. And try to get to the crux of it. Yeah. Because, if you speak to most modern historians or most modern social scientists, they'll tell you that every single human being on the planet essentially wants the same things. They want security for their family, a job, and sex, and happiness for themselves, right? Yeah. It's basically that. Yeah. That's it. And then we differ on every other way to get there. Yeah. Right? So our differences usually aren't as black and white as we think. No. We scapegoat, we look for ways, we think that this is what's causing my problems, but at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of sex, our solution to all this is we should all just have sex with each other.
Everybody have sex with everybody.
Yes.
And then there's no white people, there's no brown people, there's no black people. Everybody's just like
there's no Asians.
Weird mix of weird color.
Yeah, I think it would be this kind of mulatto.
I think it'd be brown. I'd be pretty brown.
It would be a light brown. It would be a light brown.
I'm pretty light brown.
With Asian features.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with Asian eyes. Yeah. And then,
I think that'd be a very deliciously good looking.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So everyone fuck each other. Like just.
Except for Nazis. Don't fuck them.
Yeah, don't fuck them.
Let them die off.
Yes, let them die off. I mean, that's friendly eugenics for you, right? That's,
Here the Serfs, we endorse friendly eugenics.
How many times do I... our lawyers are going to have a field day with this episode. But yes, fuck everyone. That's the solution to racism. Everybody fuck.
Yes.
There you go. And it's super fun and easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I guess we should finish off with that Obama tweet.
Yes. Okay, so Obama broke the internet, not by showing his cute little bum like the Kardashian did, but Obama released a tweet after Charlottesville. That was a quote from Nelson Mandela. And, you know,
with a great picture too.
With a really cute picture. There was a cute picture of all these mixed race babies just like hugging each other and laughing and stuff. Yeah, and everyone can get behind
cute.
that.
Yeah,
it's cute. He's cute. And you have to give some context. Nelson Mandela, who was growing up in apartheid, it was not a happy time. He was, putting it lightly, he was oppressed, shall we say, by white people his entire life. Yeah. He was put in prison. Like the man suffered at the hands of racism like no one else, and still was capable of coming up with a quote like this. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or religion. Hate has to be taught. So if you can be taught to hate, you can be taught to love. It's
beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah. You can't see it right now, but we're both tearing up and yeah.
So, eventually we'll get famous enough that our famous quote will be, everybody should fucking. That'll be great.
That's going to be on a t-shirt. The cure for racism. Everybody fuck. Oh, great. Well, yeah, that's our show today.
That's episode 20.2.
Woo! 20.2. Like we said, our next episode is going to be another one that's half in New York, half in Vancouver. Dave will be in Vancouver. I'll be in New York. And then after that, Dave is coming to New York. So we will have some official 100% Brooklyn recorded Serfs podcast episodes.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be awesome. So anyways, folks, for the Serfs, I'm Lance.
I'm Dave. And vaya con el diablo.